A very good morning to you. Thanks for joining us on the Tuesday edition of the show. Promises to be exciting as always. I'm Yemi Adebayo. There's a lot to talk about, so let's just get started as we go on the show. Let's give you the news making the rounds from this part of the world. And let's start with Nigeria's mini Olympics and talk about the National Sports Festival. All is set for the National Sports Festival as we are eagerly await the opening ceremony today. Some states already winning medals and pulling away on the medals table, but officially the opening ceremony will take place later today. Of course, we will be here to monitor events and tell you what is going on. All right, so, and also, let's talk about the Olympics, Tokyo 2020 to be held in 2021. North Korea has pulled out. This information was put out by the North Korea Sports Ministry. And of course, the reason is to safeguard their athletes. So that's North Korea. All right, let's quickly talk about the UEFA Champions League. Got into that stage, last 8 showdown. That's what's going to happen in the UEFA Champions League quarterfinal matches. 2 of them to be played today. That will be in focus. We'll talk about those games as we move on. All right, so that's the headlines for you. Let's move straight into it, dive straight into all the things happening in the world of sports. But let me just quickly hint you that at some point I will hand over to my colleague, Cecilia Omorogwe. She's in the Benin studio. We've already told you about the robust coverage that we're going to have of the National Sports Festival. So at some point I will hand over to Cecilia Omorogwe. She will take you through all the things happening in Edo State with regards to the National Sports Festival and also talking about the eagerly anticipated opening ceremony. But before I do that, let me just take some stories with regards to the Olympics. Let's talk about North Korea on the show. North Korea have announced that their athletes will not be participating at this year's Olympics. And of course, the reason is to safeguard their athletes, to protect them from COVID-19. That's what they've done. The decision was taken at a meeting by North Korea's Olympic Committee on March 25. Their sports minister was there, and they agreed that that's the decision they will take. So, of course, they also discussed ways to develop professional sports technologies and to earn medals at international competitions and also promote public sports activities over the next 5 years. But of course, that decision has been taken in the interest, according to them, health and safety of their athletes. So we will not be seeing Korea in this year's Olympics. All right, let's quickly give to you that's it. You can see the pictures of the torch relay and okay, all right. Let me take a pause. Benin studio is ready. Let me hand over to my colleague, Cecilia Omorogwe. Greetings to you, Cecilia. It's good to see you. It's good to see you right there in the studio, taking us through what is happening in Edo. Before I hand over to you, what can you just tell us quickly? Okay, it does appear Cecilia might not be hearing me now. Okay, I think she can hear me now.
We will be talking about the National Sports Festival. Yes, it has started since on Sunday. We'll say it's actually day 3, but the opening ceremony will be today. Some states have been winning gold medals. Yeah. Team Edo, for instance, in cricket, they've already got a gold medal in that one, especially the female beating Lagos by 6 wickets in that, so they were able to win gold medal. Oyo State also, they won 2 medals already. Delta State, of course, they're showing that they would not relinquish their position when it comes to the National Sports Festival. Because I learned that some stories coming in Edo is the fact that some international athletes are actually here to compete for Team Delta. So Delta State would no longer be crying, saying that their stars will not be around. So some international athletes will be around for the National Sports Festival. Yes, the opening ceremony is today. It's not this morning. It's going to be later in the day at about 7 p.m. It's going to start at 6 p.m. Commissioning of the stadium. Then the opening ceremony starts at 7. It's going to go into the 9. So for this morning, because it's the opening day, most of the athletes are actually resting. But there's a whole lot to talk about on the show this morning. And I have Charles Ogundeya from New Telegraph, athletics writer and also football writer sometimes. He's right here in the studio. Charles, it's good to have you.
Oh, good morning, Sisi. I'll make my debut on the sport at 9, definitely, and it has to be in Edo during the sport festival. But it's a good one in this in Edo State since yesterday's day that we came in. Yesterday, the key thing yesterday was the rain. It nearly disrupted so many things, but it was a good one for everybody. At least that was calmness in the town yesterday. So it's a good one to be here.
Yeah, it's great because when you look at what has been going on in the sports festival, the postponement, there was even a time last week someone called me and wanted to find out, are we going to be having the National Sports Festival? Why are you so confident? I'm like, if the organizers have promised that it will hold, definitely it will hold. And of course on Sunday we saw that the governor, Obaseki, actually received the torch, you know, the final, when the torch was actually handed over to him, the torch of unity. After receiving that, we knew that yes, it was going to happen. And of course, from that Sunday, you have events like cycling. We just talked about cricket. I just mentioned cricket, judo, karate, and of course, you also have swimming, you know, already going on. Now, from these states, we also learned, you know, the good news that also came in was that the states like Taraba and Oyo that were initially disqualified because they could not meet the COVID-19 protocols, they were called back, and of course, those states were able to participate. And for you, of course, I mean, they've won 2 medals already.
Oh, the truth is, even before that Sunday, I was aware that there's going to be sport festival because on Friday, most athletes moved into their hostels, into their camp. So definitely, when you see athletes moving in, they have assurance of the competition taking place. That's why they have to move down to Edo. And like I said, Oyo State have won two medals. In cycling, Adejoke, that's her name. She has always been there. In fact, she won in Eco 2012. She won the first medal of the competition in Lagos. So she has always been there for Oyo State, and she has always been winning medal for the state. Luckily for her, again, she has done it by picking up a bronze medal. And like you said, Edo State have won gold in cricket, and we have Team Delta, Team Bayelsa, and Team Edo competing side by side in the swimming. The 3 states have been winning gold, and I think Kano too won medals in swimming too. It was interesting for Kano State, northern state, to be competing in swimming. So it's a good one here in Edo, and like somebody said yesterday, that the facilities are all top notch. That the governor really tried putting up what the first vice president of the Nigeria Olympic Committee, Evangelist Monogba, said the facility was top-notch. They actually competed to host it with Edo. It was supposed to be Delta and Edo won it like brothers. They are brothers.
They had to concede. Or maybe they feel Edo would be able to put up a better... Okay.
Or maybe they are not even expecting what Edo put up. Especially the facilities, the Sam Ogbemudia Stadium, the boxing
gym in Etete. Yeah,
all the facilities, it was top-notch, as in state-of-the-art, and it's a good one for Edo State. Yeah,
we can't wait for the opening ceremony to start. But then I mentioned cricket earlier. There's this lady we need to take note of, Agatha Oboloshe, a wicket keeper for Edo. I mean, she won the female player of the woman of the match in that particular one. She, after Edo won gold, defeating Team Lagos by 6 wickets. That was the 6-a-side cricket at Ioba Center. Agatha actually played 16 runs off 10 balls. And of course, this aside cricket is actually a relaxed version of the game where rules are actually relaxed and duration is actually shorter. So the usual one they were supposed to have done, which is the fixture for the T20, is out of it because they just want more actions to continue. So that T20 will not happen. But this relaxed version was actually a better one. For the 6-a-side events for the result, the male, you have Edo winning gold medal, Kwara silver, and Lagos bronze. For the women, of course, Edo winning gold in that one also, Lagos silver, and Akwa Ibom coming third. So when you look at events like this, I mean, it's beautiful to really know that team sports, you know, Lagos and Edo, when it comes to cricket, yes, they are top notch. Edo have been doing a lot of grassroots development in terms of cricket, and this is actually paying off at the National Sport Festival.
The essence of Sport Festival is to discover talent from the grassroots especially. And sometimes I'm not happy that some states will bring in top stars, but even at that, that is an open festival. So you can bring, as long as you have the means to bring your resources to do that, you are free to do that. And it's opportunity to get grassroots players, grassroots athletes, and I hope it continues like this and see these athletes growing to be great.
Interesting. I mean, Lagos State Omola Dolapo actually recorded the fastest win in boxing events. 1 minute, she defeated, he defeated FCT's Sekiru Olaleye in 56 kg. And that event was another wonderful one yesterday in Benin City. So the National Sports Festival is on, is kicking. And quickly, Charles, before we just wrap up, I'll ask you this question before I go back to Abuja studio. Concerning Delta athletes, you mentioned that, yes, some of these athletes, Delta will have, I mentioned earlier that Delta will have compliments of some of their superstars coming in. And you mentioned that it's really not too okay to have these international stars coming in. But then if you have the resources, yes, you can. For Delta State, we are expecting someone to actually join when it comes to long jump, a gold medalist.
Woman is coming in. She's the defending champion of the National Sports Festival, and she's coming in today, definitely. So let's see how she can prepare for the Olympics.
Okay, we'll see how she can prepare for Olympics. So she has arrived now. She's with Team Delta. This is going to help her to also prepare. And we learned that Mike Edwards is supposed to have competed for Delta, but because the restriction is that you can have just one athlete per event, and we know that out of 14,000 athletes, is reduced to 8,000 athletes. And so one event, you definitely have one athlete represented. So because of that, most of these athletes do not have more than 2 or 3 international stars competing in a particular event. Charles, thank you so much for joining me this morning.
You're welcome.
All right. Thank you so much. I'm Cecilia Omogbe. Back to Yemi in Lagos studio.
All right. Thank you very much, Cecilia, for all the updates from the Edo studio. Hopefully we'll do this later today. All right, that's my colleague Cecilia Omologwe right there, where everything is happening in Benin City, Edo State, National Sports Festival in full effect, everything in full swing. She told us opening ceremony officially it's going to be later today, and a lot of activities lined up to spice the occasions. The athletes are resting, and it is upon us, in spite of all the things that we have heard, all the things that happened before. But now we've gotten to a point where the events are happening, medals already pouring in. I'm very happy. We wanted it to be a bit more grand, but at least we'll take whatever we have.
We definitely will. I mean, she talked about the fact that a few days before the event eventually started, a lot of people were asking, I have friends who are also asking me, so what's happening with the National Sports Festival? It was supposed to happen last year, and then we already know that even in 2021, we had a date kicked back again. But eventually, I think I'm most excited about the fact that we're seeing so many people go out there and actually win medals already. Officially, the opening ceremony is going to happen today, but we already have events starting as early as the 4th of April, was the day before yesterday. We've seen Lagos win a medal already. Edo State have won 1 or 2 medals. Delta State officially won the very first medal. So it shows you that despite all the issues that we've had in the last 18 months, generally, finally the National Sports Festival is here. We like to call it our Nigerian Olympics, and it's here to stay.
All right, so that's it. I'm also excited, and I even did officially introduce Luadablaju Saliu to us. Also excited listening to all the updates from Cecilia. So let me just revert. I want to say thank you to you, for Luadablaju Saliu, for being here. Took it for granted that we've been together for a while speaking. So, but I mean, exciting times ahead, really.
It is. It's really, really exciting. I mean, we know generally Nigerians have come to a point where they want to see what's happening with the other sports, not just football. And the National Sports Festival avails us of that opportunity. We get to see so many sports, from on-field things, likes of football, go on courts, basketball, badminton. Then those who love some other type of sports, maybe indoor sports, board games, all those are on display. We have over 40 sports as regards the National Sports Festival. So it means no matter where you fall as regards the sports you love, you get something for yourself at the National Sports Festival.
And before we go on a break, you think that we can finally put everything behind us and sports will take center stage. All of those other ages grabbing the headlines probably pushed to a side.
Yeah, I think everything we're talking about right now, we're talking about the sports themselves. We're talking about the medals that have been won. We're talking about the athletes who are making headlines. It's not so much about what has happened behind the scenes. So I think that's the point that we are right now. And that's why everybody's excited. The fact that, okay, it's National Sports Festival. We're not talking about issues off court or off the field. It's about the medals table. I'm sure by the time events start coming in thick and fast, we'll have people looking for their states. They want to banter their colleagues and know exactly how well their state has done. And that's the state of things right now.
It's time to bring you into order with doing on the show. We've always told you how important you are to us. You're an integral part of this show. Talk to us this morning. Tweet at us at the handle you have right there on your screen. At channels_sports. Let's know what you feel. We want to feel your pulse. Let's know what you feel about all of this news happening. Oluwadamile Jusali is still with me. We'll go to the NBA right about now, but don't let that stop you from making comments and talking to us. Towards the end of the show, we'll read your comments and react to all of the things you say in the amazing world of sports. So, Oluwadamile, let's just take a look at the results.
Yeah.
You give us the behind the scenes stories, what happened, James Harden, the injury, and a lot of interesting things. But let's start with the results. New York Knicks, of course, lost to the Brooklyn Nets. Kyrie Irving in the last minute, a three-pointer, had a 40-point game. James Harden, hamstring, got off about 4th minute.
Yeah, just 4 minutes of action.
Into the game. We'll talk about that. Washington Wizards lost to the Raptors. A guy who was playing his 6th game for the Raptors scored in the final minute in that one as well. And in spite of all the heroics of Russell Westbrook, wasn't enough. Okay, Utah Jazz and Dallas Mavericks, the winning streak comes to an end. Dallas Mavericks winning 111 points to 103. Sacramento Kings, of course, losing to the Minnesota Timberwolves, 116 points to 106. Detroit Pistons defeated OKC, Oklahoma City Thunder. Phoenix Suns, of course, rampant. They defeated Houston Rockets. It was close, but victory for Phoenix Suns. San Antonio Spurs. I mean, the glory days just feels like an illusion. Long time ago, they lost to the Cavaliers. Let's tell this a little. I mean, what are some of the things you want to talk about behind the scenes stories?
There are so many exciting subplots, but I think I want to look specifically at the Wizards, their loss to the Raptors, because going into the 4th quarter, they were up by as much as 11 points.
Yes.
And unfortunately, they bottled that. The 1st quarter was really good, a 9-point lead, and then they edged out both the 2nd and 3rd quarter by a point. But Russell Westbrook, you spoke about it, he had a fantastic game where he had a triple-double, 23 points, 14 rebounds, and 12 assists. Unfortunately, the rest of the supporting cast, exactly, they didn't come to the party. We've complained about that a lot of times as regards the NBA. So Russell Westbrook has been churning in triple-doubles left, right, and center. But for the Wizards, unfortunately, they couldn't have any particular thing to hold. Another one that was very interesting for me was the Jazz. Unfortunately,
that's our featured game, by the way. We're going to see some pictures. Let's talk about it.
I mean, 9 games unbeaten. It was a winning streak because, of course, in the NBA, you either win or you lose. And then they came up against the Mavericks side. We know that when you have Luka Doncic in your team, you always have that X factor. And then he had 31 points on the night. But for the Jazz, I think they will feel really, really disappointed by the manner in which they lost to the Mavericks. Take nothing away from the team from Dallas. But the Jazz, like I said earlier, 9 games unbeaten. You expect a lot more. They're the team with the best record in the NBA. Maybe, just maybe, they were in themselves.
And some people are saying possibly it might be a future playoff game. Possibly.
I mean, I like what I see with the Mavericks. I really do. I'm a very, very big fan of Luka Doncic, and then he has done so well this season. Aside the likes of Russell Westbrook and maybe Nikola Jokic, Doncic is one name that comes to your mind as regards triple-doubles. So that's absolutely amazing for the Mavericks. For the Nets, you mentioned how James Harden came off after 4 minutes. That was a very big blow. But Kyrie Irving hitting 40 points. It just tells you that for this Nets team, when you have the likes of Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving, even when 1 or 2 of them seem to be struggling with injury, because
one will be able to carry the team.
We've hardly seen all 3 of them play together. The times that we've seen it, they've been absolutely explosive. But even when 1 or 2 players are missing, the man who is left on the court has really shown up for them. It's amazing.
That's why a lot of people think they are contenders. Time will tell. All right, let's take some post-match reactions. We start with the Utah Jazz. Quinn Snyder, the coach of Utah Jazz, we're having some explanation to do. The team has been doing so well, but got to a point where the winning streak had to come to an end. So let's take that reaction, come back for more. Sports this morning.
They make 10 more threes than us. It's going to be tough to do that. We can look at some of the things we need to do better. I felt like we could have moved the ball a little bit better at certain times in the game. We made it a little hard on ourselves than we need to, but like I said, they're a good team, and they did a lot of good things to win the game. When we cross-match Rudy at times, people are going to get open looks. I thought it's really difficult to limit Luka's threes. I don't know how many he took, 11. And some of those other guys, they were aggressive. They got them from different positions as well. There's a number of things that played into that, some of which we can address, whether it be a game plan or more urgency to take away shooters, more aggressive off the ball stunts where we make them think a little bit more. But as you said, that's a lot of threes. As I said, we took a lot too, but sometimes the disparity there didn't work in our favor.
All right, credit to the Dallas Mavericks on the day. The shooting prowess of the Utah Jazz has completely disappeared in that game. All right, we talk about the Brooklyn Nets. Let's also listen to Steve Nash talk about his team and, of course, the victory and possibly about James Harden.
Randall was putting so much pressure on us in the half court and the full court. We were defensively too stagnant, sitting and watching him, and it was comfortable for them. They were all comfortable making shots, so we tried to speed it up. We tried to show more support. We tried to, throw in the odd double team or blitz and just up the pace at that end and try to make them uncomfortable. So our guys played harder and in the second half and held them to 45 points, which was considerable considering their first half outage. Last time, he just has an awareness of something's not right in his hammy. His scan was clean, as we reported. His strength tests when he came back in the locker room were normal. So it's just something where we have to protect him. We have to trust him. Very frustrating for James, but we can't risk it if we can afford not to. And so that depends on trust between us and James and making sure that he feels comfortable in the decision. And I thought tonight the right decision was to not take any risks with him. So, who knows? This may linger. It may be all behind us like we thought it was before the game, but it's just one of those things where the scan is clean, the strength tests are clean, but he feels something. So we're going to err on the side of caution.
All right. I would have loved to continue with the NBA. So many talking points, even listening to Steve Nash, so many talking points. But, Damled, we have a lot of ground to cover. So let's move on. Of course, the conversation never ends. When we're out of the studio, we continue. All right, so let's start from home. Let's talk about the NPFL. Let's take a look at some matches played yesterday. Take a look at the results and the implication of those results by looking at the table. But I'm looking quickly. Abia Warriors defeated Plateau United 2-1. Heartland also same scoreline against Adamawa United.
I think for Abia Warriors, I've been really, really impressed. I remember early on in the season when they had issues. I think they were winless in about 7 games.
And the ultimatum came in.
Immediately after the ultimatum, they drew 3 successive games. And then it felt like, okay, you're supposed to be winning games. But after that, they've kicked on. I think, if I'm correct, they've only lost one of their last 5 matches. And with the victory yesterday, they're back into the top half of the table. They're currently 10th. Of course, Plateau United will be very disappointed by what happened. But for Abia Warriors, it's really good. They seem to be steady in the tides. And for Heartland, it was a very important victory for them. But Adamawa United is looking like they're doomed for relegation at this point in time. They're the bottom team in the league, and it feels like they've carried over their horrible form from last season. By the time the league was truncated after 25 games, they were the bottom place team. And it's it's polar extremes for them and Kwara United, because last season Kwara United were 19th and they were 20th, but now Kwara United are first and they are last. So it just feels like it's a season in the NNL for them next season.
An interesting point you brought up. So let's take a look at the table. Since you brought it up, let's see what the table looks like right about now. He talked about Kwara United. Did you think after 19 matches you would see Kwara, especially at the back of
what
last
happened
season?
Definitely not. I mean, I was doing a retrospective look at what has happened in the first half of the season, and I admitted that Kwara United have been the most impressive team in the whole of the NPFL, not just because they are currently top and based on points and goal difference, they are the best team in the league, but because I know where they came from as regards last season. Last season, it looked like they were doomed for relegation. And then all of a sudden, they've gotten back to themselves. I was in Ilorin about a few months ago, and I know how on the streets the fans were so excited to talk about Kwara United. Then they were just picking up form. This was sometime in January. And the fans were so excited. I've not seen them that excited about talking about football in such a long time. And if they can sustain this, because we know in the MPFL, it's one thing to do it in the first half. The second half, the business of the season is where it gets really tough. But I've been super impressed with the team from Ilorin, and hopefully they can go on to consolidate.
Let's just put it into perspective. Eimba in the 5th position. They've played 15 games. And those games that are left, if they play, things might change. But you have to give Kwara United credit. You have to give. But you also talk about the teams in red. Sunshine, slightly above. But, I mean, they can be dragged down if they're not careful. Then you have Warri Wolves, Casino United, FC Ifeanyi. Then you talk about Adamawa that it appears like...
Yeah, it looks like it's done for them.
It's 12 points from 19 games.
I think also, aside Sunshine, I would drag MFM into that mix.
Okay.
And I'm really worried for the Lagos-based side. At home, they have not been really good enough. They've only picked up 3 points away from home because they've drawn only 3 games. So we know traditionally MFM don't do well away. But also in the MPFL, we know how this thing works. For you to have a sensible position in the league, you need to average about 2 points at home because the away fixtures are a lot tougher than the home fixtures. But MFM have not done enough. And I think that win against Enyimba was very crucial a few match days ago. But they need to do something more important because the MPFL, 1 win or 1 loss, and then you can rise or drop as many as 6 positions. Okay, so we're on the home stretch. Let's take a look at the papers and see what the papers are saying this morning. Damiloju, let's start with Sporting Live, and let's take a look at what's in the news. The Tuesday edition of Sporting Live coming up on your screen shortly. And interesting stories, Juventus versus Napoli. You have a comment attributed to Caressa. Osimhen can score 4 goals with Mertens. Okay, Osimhen gradually getting back with the goals. Onuachu, this is the most talked about ego now. Paul Onuachu nets 28th goal of the season. And comment attributed to Super Eagles leader Victor Ekpeba on Sporting Live. Iheanacho is a natural replacement for Jamie Vardy. Some might argue that he scores goals, but not the same type of player. I even think for Iheanacho, he needs Vardy to play to be able to
He needs to play off somebody.
Exactly. He cannot lead the line. We've seen that happen in the past, and it hasn't really worked. We saw what happened. I can remember the friendly against Argentina where he had a really good game. He was playing off someone. We've seen that he won the Player of the Month in the Premier League for March. And then 5 of the goals that he scored in 3 matches, all of those 3 games he played alongside Jamie Vardy. So we know Iheanacho is the traditional 8, the kind of player that needs to peel off someone. If you put him as a lone striker, it stifles his ability by so much.
And for those in the Eagles who always try to drag him into midfield, that also doesn't suit him.
No, he's
just
an 8.
Close to the just close up there. All right, and Victor Osimhen seems to be gradually getting back.
I'm really happy for Osimhen because his move to Napoli hasn't really gone as planned. He's really struggled. Of course, he had COVID and then injuries. It feels like whenever he's getting back into form, something happens. But now, I love the game between Napoli and Crotone because we had 3 of the 7 goals scored by Nigerian strikers, 1 for Osimhen, 2 for Osimhen, 1 for. But hopefully, he can kick on from this and continue to score more.
All right, we have 2 papers left. We'll probably take one. We have Sport Instant, we have Complete Sports. But let's take a look at Complete Sports. And in a minute, Damiloju will, talk to us about some of the stories. Dembele strikes to send Barcelona into 2nd position. They're now within touching distance of Atletico. And other stories, some of the ones that we have read, Zidane addresses Salah rumors. You're going to play against a team that wants to have you on their books.
That has been there for a long time. A lot of people have said if Salah eventually leaves Liverpool, it looks like Real Madrid might be the destination. But it feels like now Real Madrid are looking at some very high-profile young stars, Mbappe and Holland, if they can get both. Recently signed Hazard hasn't gone so well. So I think they're looking towards players who are a lot under 23. But it's an interesting cloud over the match between Liverpool and Real Madrid. And just quickly to talk about Barcelona and Ousmane Dembele, they were given a huge fight yesterday by Valladolid, but eventually quality came through, and ahead of the El Clasico, they're just 1 point behind Atletico Madrid. It feels so strange.
Although it must be said, their opponents were reduced to 10 men at some point.
Yeah, of course they were, and Valladolid had a really good game, but I fear for Atletico Madrid because Barcelona seemed to steady beginning momentum, 1 more slip up, and it feels like Barcelona might just take charge of this title.
Okay, all right, that's a good place to leave it today, the Tuesday edition of the show. First, I want to thank Oluwadamilaju Sali for finding out time to be with us today.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. And you as well. It's a pleasure to know that you're always there watching whatever we're doing here. So enjoy the rest of your day. We're back here again tomorrow. I'm Yemi Adebayo. Bye-bye now.